Why should we study the prophets of the Old Testament? I think we should study the prophets because they're the divergent characters of the Old Testament. They're the ones who see things that other people can't see, and not necessarily clear off in the future somewhere, but they see things going on around them, and they see into the meanings of things going on around them in ways that nobody else does. And then they try to explain it to everybody. They see where God is at work when other people don't. And they tell other people about it. If we want to get in touch with what God's doing and we want to get on board with what God's doing, here's what we ought to do. And sometimes people taunt them, and sometimes people kill them. But nevertheless, they're the divergent characters who see things differently.
I think it's really important to study the prophets in the Old Testament because it tells the whole story from the beginning of time up until Jesus arrives. Also, it makes very cool ideas for artwork, so that's my main reason.
Understanding the prophets and the Old Testament is because we believe that Jesus is important. And Jesus said, I did not come to abolish the law and the prophets, but to fulfill them. It's kind of like, if you want to know the end of the book, you need to read the first part. And if you have a culmination, you probably need to know what led up to it and how he is a fulfillment of all of that.
The prophets, they are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Should we study them? I'm checking my notes because I think they were people that checked notes. They were the stand-betweens, people and God. And they often were ones that drew people back to God because there was something broken in relationships. They reminded everyone that there are gaps, there are issues. Maybe covenants are broken, gaps between rich and poor, and they help us to know that it's okay to question authority. They often spoke to the ruling bodies. But what I really like about the prophets is they bring us hope for the future. There was the prediction of Jesus, the Messiah, and a better life to come. And then there are all these surprises, and that's pretty cool because Jeremiah was only a teen when he was a prophet. And the other thing I really like, because of my emphasis here at EMHS with English, is they often spoke with metaphors, and they were clever. They had surprises in what they had to say, and often very, very beautiful language of poetry as well. Check out the end of Habakkuk. They are some of my favorite verses in the Bible.
Right, prophets. Well, where else do you get everything all in one place? Intrigue, dire warnings, controversy, deceit, foreshadowing, challenging authority, shaggy hair, stench, judgment, fringe of society, predicting the future, moral corruptness, and cool king names like Uzziah, Zedekiah, Ahaz, Nebuchadnezzar, and Jehoiakim. It was a mess back then, people.
When I first came to EMHS, I was able to teach Bible 8, and I'm very, very glad I did. That was the semester that I feel like I really learned the Old Testament because I learned a lot about the prophets. So the summer after I taught it the first year, I read 4 books about the prophets, and after that, I felt like it was a very worthwhile way to learn about the Old Testament because, quite frankly, prophets are all throughout the Old Testament. So have a great time studying the prophets.
Old Testament prophets speak words into their age which have meaning and weight for our own. For instance, Isaiah. Isaiah talked about beating swords into plowshares or weapons into tools of productivity. And Isaiah's word in the 700s BC applies to today, where we try to figure out what Isaiah meant by turning swords into plowshares. Check out the 2nd chapter of Isaiah and verse 4 to figure out what that means for today. Prophets spoke in an older day, but their words apply to us in our day today.
I think it's very important to study the Old Testament. The Old Testament gives us instruction as to how to please God, I guess. It helps us to understand how holy He is, how there are certain things that he can put up with and other things that are against his nature. And I think when we compare and contrast the Old Testament and the New Testament, and we see what Jesus has done to make it possible we don't have to follow all of the rules because of what Jesus has done for us, it helps us to see that God has not changed, but all that Jesus has done for us allows the change.
Studying the prophets. Wow, what an opportunity. There's lots of good reasons to do that. One is simply from a historical standpoint. What was happening, understanding the context, figuring out who was doing what with whom and to whom. It gives us a broader understanding of that period of time in history. So, history isn't your thing? What about stories? Crazy people. Unbelievable stuff happening. The kind of thing you say, this isn't how the world should work, but it is how the world is working. What can we learn from that? And then there's the people themselves. Stories of heroism. Oh yeah, the knight in shining armor kind of thing. Plenty of that going on. But also people who made tremendous mistakes, had to learn from them, and then hopefully came out the other side wiser and better people. And that's in it for us too. Hope you enjoy your study.